Charles for HumbleMechanic.com, back with episode 53 of the Humble Mechanic podcast. If you haven't figured out by now, you guys got me in the car today. Well, actually not in the car today, in the truck today. This is my wife's '08 Nissan Frontier, and with the little one now, she's got the Passat and I got her truck. It's funny, I actually love the Passat more than the truck, but it's kind of fun to drive a car with a little bit of horsepower in it. So I'm not complaining too terribly much, but today's episode is not about me driving my wife's truck. Today is about how to be a good apprentice. A couple of reasons that I'm talking about this. One, I have a couple of apprentices right now, which makes it all really fresh in my mind. Not only that, but as a team lead in the shop, I'm always trying to get better and be a better team leader. So there's a ton of resource available for being a better leader, how to manage and all that. But there's not really a ton of information out there about how to be a good apprentice, how to be a good new person, how to be a good, rookie, so to say. So today I want to talk a little bit about that and give you guys some really good tips on how to be a good apprentice, which if you start out as an apprentice and you're bad, you're probably not going to work out to be a very good technician or, journeyman anything, really. This kind of applies across the whole entire work spectrum. So first up, you really have to hustle. And I don't mean, when we're talking about cars, fixing cars fast, because I actually don't want you to rush through and fix cars fast. It's about the attitude of hustle. If someone asks you, hey, can you go do this project or do this job? And you kind of mosey on over and you take a 10-minute break and you go to the bathroom and you go get a drink and it's 25 minutes before you start, that's not hustling. If you, kind of hightail it over and get rolling, that's hustling. And you really need to have that attitude, that mentality, that hustle spirit to really sort of shine as an apprentice. If I had two apprentices and one is hustle, hustle, hustle all day, hey, Charles, what do you need? What can I do? What's next? Awesome, I'm all in. And the other one's, mopes around and can't get his butt in gear, I'm going to tend to focus on the guy that hustles because I know, if I put more work into him, he's going to be better than the other guy. The other guy's going to take 4 times more work to even get up to the level of the guy that's already ready to hustle. Next up, be a sponge. Absorb everything. Absorb all the good habits that you see people have. Absorb all the bad habits so that you know not to do them. I've said it before in my career that I've learned as much from people doing things the right way as I have from people doing things the wrong way. You get to a point where you can clearly see that someone is doing something wrong and, just avoid those habits. And a big thing is if you're not sure, just ask. Sometimes it feels weird to ask someone over and over and over again, how do I do this? How do I do this? Am I doing this right? Does this look right? But I would rather stop 10 times and make sure that you're doing the right thing than have you mess something up and maybe not install a torque converter properly in a transmission or, not tighten a drain plug or forget to put an oil cap on, forget to plug a sensor in. Take something off that you shouldn't. All these little nuances of the industry and working on cars and Volkswagen's car line in particular, and it's really all car lines. There's little tiny nuances that if you don't know, you can sort of back yourself out of, but it's a heck of a lot easier if somebody stops you before you do something dumb and get yourself in a bind that either costs the dealership money, costs the service station money, or costs you time, which costs everybody money. You also have to understand that the learning process is not easy and it's not fast. It takes time to learn all of this stuff. There's so much. Even when I went to Volkswagen Academy and got a really good footing for the brand and how the scan tool worked and how to find information, there was so much stuff that I didn't know, and I didn't know that I didn't know it. And I know as a new person, as an apprentice, it can get very frustrating because, especially when you're that hustle, 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 go, go, go type mentality, and now you're taking 15 times longer to do a job than, the guy next to you. But you really want to take your time early on and learn good habits, learn the right way to do things, learn how to find the information. And as time goes on and you get better and you get more comfortable with the car line, you're going to get faster. It just happens. It's a natural progression. You will get faster at what you're doing. And remember that every place is different. You know, my computer system for customer management is ran by ADP. There's other ones. So even if you're changing dealerships, this can also be a little bit of a learning curve too. Just remember, don't get frustrated about it. Just keep at it, keep learning, and keep on hustling. Next, be really thankful for the fact that you can borrow tools. You know, I've had apprentices that were so respectful of my stuff, and you know, if they needed to borrow something, Charles, do you mind if I borrow this? Sure, no problem, go ahead and borrow it. You know, when I have an apprentice, I generally let them work out of my toolbox till they're up and running and have their own sets of tools. But you really need to be thankful and respectful for that. It's a lot of money to you know, furnish a toolbox, so to say. And if you're the type of person that's going to borrow something and not bring it back, or borrow something and just leave it thrown wherever instead of putting it back where you got it, the borrowing tool trolley stops really damn quick. So if you're an apprentice and you're borrowing stuff out of the journeyman's toolbox or the shop foreman's toolbox or your team leader's toolbox, just be respectful of their stuff. You know, it should go without saying, clean it up when you're done, make sure it goes back where it was supposed to go. Make sure that when you're borrowing stuff, you're making a list of all the things that you need. It's really expensive to start in this industry, and there's so many tools that you need that you don't even know you need until you know you need them. You know, it's that old saying, you don't know what you don't know. It's exactly that. You don't know what tools you're going to need. You know, if I went to work for Chevy, there would be a whole bunch of tools that I would have to buy tomorrow. If I went to work for Kia, there'd be a whole bunch of tools I'd have to buy tomorrow. So when you're starting out, there's a whole bunch of tools you got to buy, period, and then you can get into the manufacturer-specific stuff. You know, something as simple as oil filter wrenches, or as complex as, you know, like VAGCOM or something like that, and on and on and on. But definitely be making a list of the things that you need from day one. You know, look through the shop foreman's toolbox and see what they have. Look through the guys' roll carts and see the stuff that they use all day long. And that's where you really want to start with your tool purchasing. And buy smart. You know, you don't need to spend $10,000 your first week on the Snap-on truck. Despite what the Snap-on guy will tell you, that's not needed. So be smart, make a list, and just when you can afford to buy them, buy them. As an apprentice, you don't need to get yourself buried up in debt with buying tools, because you don't know. This career may not work out for you. Try not to get too frustrated. There's a lot of things in the industry that are weird and wrong, you know, or difficult to deal with. The cars are hard enough all by themselves to fix, and then you add difficult service advisors, you add difficult parts department, you have difficult brands and manufacturers to deal with. You have difficult corporate structure. You have difficult service managers. You have difficult fellow technicians. All these things add up and add up and add up and can get incredibly frustrating. Believe me, it can be incredibly frustrating. Where were we? Okay, so yeah, don't get frustrated. It's really hard to not get frustrated sometimes though, because you got everybody kind of pulling at you and barking at you. You're too slow. You don't know. How come you don't know this? Sometimes you just have to stop, take a step back, take a breath, and then move forward again. If you need 2 minutes to clear your head, take it. If you need 5 minutes, say to your shop foreman or whatever, hey, I need 5 minutes to get myself together. Go get yourself together and come back. Because again, this frustration can get so overwhelming very, very fast. And it's that whole thing, you know, it's when one thing's going bad is when 17 other things start piling up on top of it and adding to that frustration level. I touched on it a minute ago, and that's learning from mistakes. Again, learn from your own mistakes. That's the key. If you're making a mistake, I'm all right with that as long as nobody gets hurt and it doesn't cost us too much money. But learn from it. Don't do it again. Learn from other people's mistakes. When you see someone else in the shop mess up, don't do that. You know, the reason I put a torque wrench on every single spark plug that I install is because when I very first started at the dealership, one of the guys that worked there did a set of spark plugs on a 2-liter Jetta or Beetle or Golf, and later that day it got towed back in with a spark plug that had ripped the threads out of the head because he didn't torque the spark plug. I don't remember if he didn't torque all of them or just one, but I tell you what, I torque every single spark plug that I install ever since that day. So little things like that you want to learn from, again, both your own mistakes and other people's mistakes. And recognize that they're gonna happen. You're not gonna be perfect. Even the most seasoned high-level tech is not perfect. So just understand that you're gonna make them and just try to minimize them as much as possible. And kind of last, but yet the most important one, you gotta be positive. You have to have a good attitude. If you come in with a grumpy attitude or, not wanting to be there, the person that's training you isn't gonna wanna give you anything either. What I always tell the guys when they first start is, look, I want you to be successful. I probably want you to be just a little bit more successful than you really want you to be. So I'm gonna give all you give plus about 10%. So if you want to come in and kick butt and hustle and be, this perfect apprentice, do all the things that I just talked about, I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to let you struggle a little bit because you need it. I'm going to hustle with you and help you get work done fast if you need it. I'm going to stop what I'm doing to help you at every chance that I can get because you're giving me what I would expect you to give. You're giving all you got, so I'm going to give you all I got. And that's going to make a really successful technician. You have to act like you want to be there. You have to act like you love this job, even if you're not sure, even if you're like, this job's cool, but I don't know if I want to do it for the rest of my life. Hell, fake it if you're not sure. Just come in, work hard, want to be there, want to love it, love the brand, love the cars, love tools, I don't know, whatever makes you happy. You have to have that attitude that you love this job. And if you don't early on, when it's 10 years in and you're frustrated and your body's broken and you've gotten your butt kicked by, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars, think about how crappy your attitude is going to be, not only towards your job, but in life in general. Try and think of it as you just landed your dream job. This is the thing that, I went to school for a year, or I spent 6 months in the quick lube lane for, changing oil and putting air filters on. This is what you've worked so hard to have. Now you got it. Do something with it. Go in, kick butt, work hard, learn everything you can, be a good apprentice, help your team leader or your shop foreman out when you can. If you find yourself with nothing to do something. Take out batteries, take out oil filters, clean something, always move, always be doing something, don't ever stop moving, and have a good attitude. I know it sounds so easy when I just say, all you got to do is all these things. And I know it's not that easy. I did it. When I started at the dealership, I knew absolutely nothing about fixing cars. Sure, I just went to UTI for a year. Sure, I just spent 16 or 13 weeks, whatever, at the Volkswagen Academy. But you know how many times I had fixed a car for money? Exactly 0. I tinkered around with car radios and I learned a bunch at UTI. I made as much as I could have out of that. But I had never worked in a shop before, and I feel like if I can do this and become successful, everybody else can too. You have to have the right mindset. Even if you're not very smart, even if you're weak in certain areas, if you got the right mindset, you can overcome a lot of that stuff. Acting like this is your dream job, because maybe it is. Maybe you've always wanted to be a Indy shop tech or a Chevy tech or a Volkswagen tech at a dealership, whatever. It may be exactly where you always dreamed of being, but it might not be. This might be a stepping stone. There was a point in my career where I thought, I'm going to work at the dealership for a while, I'm going to learn the ropes, and I'm going to go open my own shop. I don't know that today that's still my dream, but I, at that point, treated the dealership like a stepping stone. So I knew I was going to come in, I was going to learn everything I could, I was going to kick as much butt as I could, and maybe one day I would move on, and maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. It still may happen. But always treat it like it's your absolute dream job, whether it is or whether you know that this is just a stepping stone into another career. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. The question of the day, what do you think makes a good apprentice, whether it be as a technician or otherwise? I actually almost became an electrician apprentice before I decided to go to UTI. So again, this applies to fields across the board. What do you think makes a really good apprentice? Post your thoughts in the comments section below. Hey, if you like the video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. You can also subscribe on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the blog, humblemechanic.com, and obviously on YouTube. All right, guys, thanks for watching. No beer, obviously I'm driving, so that's the thing. And hey, welcome to the first video in the truck. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.